In today's video, I am talking about the #1 best exercise to ditch the dad bod, lose your belly fat, trade it in for some dad abs, and keep it like that forever. You want to know more? Stick around. So when it comes to burning belly fat, there is a lot of people out there that say a lot of things. People are telling you that it's HIIT, it's CrossFit, it's F45, it's high intensity cardio, it's low intensity cardio, it's jumping on a freaking trampoline. I'm going to tell you what I found for myself as well as what I found for all my clients around the world, 25 to 65, men, women, it doesn't matter. And that exercise is walking. Now, I've said in the past, and it is true, that walking, I don't believe, is a form of exercise. It is a form of movement. We all walk. That's why we have two legs. So that's what we should be. But getting into the habit and the program of purposeful walks can be considered exercise. And when I'm talking about walking, one of the other things that a lot of the fitness influencers don't make very clear is they're not just talking about walking like a Sunday stroll. They're not talking about just kind of like walking slowly while, licking an ice cream cone, that sort of walk. That's what we're talking about here. We are talking about two things. Number one is just getting in your daily steps, or what I call just your daily physical activity units. And the way I do that is by tracking. So right now I am approximately 3,814 steps. So quite a bit behind what I want to get to. And we're going to talk about that number in a minute, because again, there's a lot of myths when it comes to that number. So we'll talk about what number you should be looking at. And again, I'm going to break it down for you into more detail than they most get. But walking, guys, and I'm not going to throw up a bunch of studies. I do too much content and I'm way too busy to just go and have a whole bunch of studies and show up screenshots like all those other guys. I do this YouTube thing as a bonus to my clients and just to the world in general. I am not a YouTuber. I don't sit around making YouTube videos all day and having tons of time to research, and I don't have a team. But I'm telling you this from my coaching. I've trained world-class celebrities. I've trained Olympians. I've trained champion cage fighters. I've trained movie stars, and I've trained hundreds of normal guys and girls around the world. And the number one thing that they can do to start ditching the body fat is getting into a walking habit. So two things I aim for, like I said, is I aim for getting a 10,000 steps a day. Now, that is personally for me. You need to track your steps and you need to start adding them slowly. So if you're at, say, 4,000, 5,000 steps right now, which is kind of the typical average, that's even 5,000 is a little bit higher than the typical average, then what I want you to do is want you to try adding maybe 20 to 25%. So let's say, just for math's sake, you're at 4,000 steps on average a day right now after you track. You're not just guessing. Aim for 5,000 steps for the next week. Then after that, increase that, and eventually work your way up to what you consider a good number. Now, if we're looking at just longevity scales and just good health measures, that we can look at other countries such as China, such as Hong Kong, such as Korea, such as a lot of other countries that have pretty good health rates, and that's associated with walking, which tends to be around the 7,000 steps a day. For me, I like to hit about 10,000. I find that's where I feel the best. So I aim for 10,000 steps a day. Now, here's the caveat. Besides just that one number to make sure I hit that, I also like to make sure that I get 3,000 of those 10,000s at a moderate pace or with added difficulty, which I'm going to talk about in a second, because just like anything else, guys, you do need to progressively overload your steps to a point, because like anything else, it will decline as time goes on. Now, you don't have to progressively overload it as scientifically as, say, a workout plan or a VO2 max training, but you do want to, just like I said, we're going to start at 4,000, go to 5,000, go to 6,000, work our way up to whatever number you decide that is. Once you kind of reach that number, you can't go, well, okay, I'm going to go 12,000, 13. It can't go on forever, because if I've been doing this for years, I'd be at like 100,000 steps a day, which is just stupid. So I'm going to tell you what I do. So I make sure that 3,000 of those, and by the way, the average pace that what I've seen, and again, I haven't looked this study up, I've just practiced it myself. I've physically counted in my head, and I've tracked at a brisk to moderate pace. 10 minutes is roughly equal to 1,000 steps. So by that rationale, by that math, I try to aim for a few times a week, not every day, maybe 3 times a week. I aim for 3,000 steps or 30 minutes at a brisk pace. So 7 days a week is 10,000 steps. I try to get in sometimes between 1,000 to 2,000 of those at a brisk pace every day, but at least 2 days a week, I make sure that 3,000 of those are at a brisk pace, or I add some difficulty. So let's talk about how to do that. So what do I mean by that? Well, it's progressive overloading, and progressive overload your walk. And there's different things you can do. So number one, if you're hitting, say, 7,000 or 8,000 right now, what you can do is, instead of just saying I'm going to hit more and more steps, is try to increase the speed of those steps. So try to walk a little bit faster so you can increase your speed, which is going to bring your heart rate up a little bit, right? So that's the first way you can progressively overload, or just make your walking a little more effortful if progressive overload just sounds like too big of a word, or 2 words technically for you. I will also do, usually once or twice a week, I will wear a heavy vest on my walk. Wearing a heavy vest has been proven to burn more calories with the exact same speed, the same cadence, and the same walk. So that means if I take a 30-minute walk following the same path, and then I take the next day a 30-minute walk at the same speed following the same path, but with a heavy vest on, I am going to burn more calories. The third thing that you can do is you can start adding inclines. Now, this is simple. If you're on a treadmill, what you can do is you can just add the incline up to anywhere between 3, 4, 5. So depending where you're at, I suggest, by the way, guys, never starting with an incline of 0. Don't quote me on this, but you can quote me on it. I believe a 0 incline on a treadmill is like the equivalent of like slightly walking downhill on a treadmill. It's very, very easy, because if you think about it too, the treadmill is doing part of the work for you. Unlike walking, where you're kind of stepping and pulling yourself forward a little bit, the treadmill is just kind of kicking you behind, which is why a lot of people find it is easier to walk on a treadmill than it is to walk outside. So I suggest everybody, even starting off at 2% incline for everybody, and consider 2% your 0%. But my typical incline is usually somewhere between 4 and a 5. And for me, my speed is usually about a 5. So on days where I'm really kind of getting up a good pace, it'll be 5 by 5. Days where I'm just kind of at a normal average, what I consider a decent pace, is going to be more of a 4 by 5 or a 4 by 4.5 speed. Now, if you're outside, what you can do is obviously look for hills. I'm very lucky. I live in an area of British Columbia, Canada, where I have this long hill. So I walk. My house is basically at the top of a very long, but not super high incline. Not like I'm going up a mountain, but it's still an up. When I get to the bottom and I look up, I'm like, that is quite the trek up. So what I'll do is I will quickly, at a fast pace, down about 15 to 20 minutes downhill, and then I try to again match that same pace uphill. And that, guys, if you think about it, it's harder, right? When you're walking downhill, you can go down pretty fast. So let's say it takes me 15 minutes to walk downhill, but I want to make it back uphill in that same 15 minutes. I'm doing a lot of things. Sometimes I'll have the weight vest on, so I got the weight, I got the incline, and I have to basically work harder because I'm going up that incline, right? And then, of course, you can also increase the duration as well, just how long you're going for. So we can just add more steps and go out a little bit longer. Now, the final thing you can do, and this is a little insider hack, is what they call retro running. I did a video on this when I lived in Hong Kong like 15 years ago. And that is basically walking backwards. First of all, it's going to help strengthen your knees. It's very good for your knees and very good for your lower body musculature in general and your feet. Helps improve balance, but it also burns a lot more calories. So another thing you can do is do this. Maybe go out to the track somewhere safe and say, you know what? I'm going to do 1 track forward, 1 track backwards, 1 track forwards, 1 track backwards. If you're out and you know the streets are safe, go backwards and try that out and see how you feel. And if you really want to kick it up, try going backwards on an incline with a heavy vest. Now, the last thing I do want to talk about quickly, while we're talking about just burning off the belly, is, you know what? While you were getting rid of the belly, we might as well start to build up our abs as well. And a lot of people will tell you that abs are built in the kitchen, they're not. What you want to do is, while we are doing all this stuff to burn the fat off of our stomachs, we might as well do some ab specific exercises. And again, just like if you're trying to get a bigger chest, bigger traps, bigger arms, bigger whatever, if you get your abs a little bit bigger and a little bit thicker, you are going to see them at higher levels of body fat percentages. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go to my video called 10% Body Fat is a Big Fat Lie. You can get abs, guys. You can lose the belly and you can have visible abs at 15, 16, 17, even 18% body fat if you build up your abs. And you do that again through exercises that are going to contract the abular muscles, which means bringing basically your chest to your pelvis or your pelvis up towards your chest, and using progressive overload. So building the ab muscles, which is different than just say strengthening the core. We're actually talking about contracting, stretching, and contracting of the ab muscles, which is what you need if you actually want to grow. Just like if you have a bicep, you could sit there all day, guys, doing biceps. You can do, say, bicep curls where you're just doing isolations, right? But they're not going to get a lot bigger as opposed to going to a full stretch, a full contraction, and working through that. The abs are no different. Just think of your abs. If you want to, your abs bring your half body, your half and your top half and your lower half towards each other. Think of your abs, it's kind of like the elbow, right? There you go. You're just doing your bicep curls, but you're using your abs instead. There you go. Hope that helps. Now, if you comment dad abs in the comments below, wherever you happen to be watching or listening to this, I will send you the link to the link of my all new Dad Abs, the full truth behind getting a flat stomach and abs over 40. I will send that to you right away. I took a lot of work. I put a lot of effort into it. I think you guys are really going to like it, and it's going to blow through a lot of the nonsense about exactly what it takes to have abs over 40, and blows so many of these myths and lies and YouTube clickbait crap out the window. So guys, again, dad abs, comments below, one word. And until next time, I'm here to help you live leaner, stronger, longer, and of course, and as always, a hell of a lot better. Talk to you again soon. Hey guys, thanks for watching. And if you like this video, make sure you check out this one right here. And when you're at the gym, driving, out on a walk or run, and you want to hear lots more great content put in your ears, make sure to check out my Barbells to Buddhas podcast on your favorite podcast app.